All right, so good to have you back. It's still the weekend politics, and today is the last edition in the month of April. But the next time you'll see this phase would be in the month of May, God willing. Now, on the 18th of March, Nigerians went all out, and indeed Cross Riverians went out to elect the next governor of their state. And indeed, Cross Riverians had to queue to elect the next governor. And the All Progressives candidate, Prince Senator Bassey Edotu, came out victorious at that election. 29 days from having him take over the mantle of leadership in Cross River State, there are quite a lot of expectations coming from Nigerians and particularly Cross Riverians. I have joining me a University Don, Professor Patrick Egaga, as we x-ray those expectations from Cross Riverians. Good evening, Prof. So good to have you join us.
Good evening.
All right, Prof. Let me start by saying happy Sunday.
Thank you.
All right.
Happy mountain too.
Definitely. Okay, Prof. On the 18th of March, several political parties fielded their candidates, and just one emerged, of which was announced and given certificate of return, Prince Bassey Edotu of the APC. 29 days from now, he would be handed over the reins of power constitutionally. Now, let's look at your view. First, let's look at the person. Before we look at the expectation from that administration, come 29 days from now, let's look at the person of Prince Bassey Edotu.
Well, essentially on the 25th of March, what happened was an election. I know several parties fielded their candidates.
On the 18th of March.
On the 18th of March, rather, several parties fielded their candidates. In an election, there must be a winner. There must be a loser. There must be a vanquished. There must be somebody who is victorious. Beyond that, you know, the personality and the personage of Prince Bassey Edotu, Senator Prince Bassey Edotu, is that one that catches a lot of attention and attraction in the state. You know, before he gunned for the position of governorship, he was already a household name in the whole of Cross River, spanning the length and breadth of Cross River. First and foremost, you know, he was in the Federal House of Representatives, within which period, in spite of the fact that he was representing the good people of Odukpani and Calabar municipality in the Federal House of Reps, he made sure, or characteristics of him, he endeared himself to the people across the length and breadth of the state. In fact, within that short period, there is no local government out of the 18 local government areas that he didn't have friends. He didn't mentor people. That he was already a very well established politically. And then when he went in for the second tenure, in fact, the culmination was when he was elected into the Senate. In the Senate, in spite of the fact that he was representing only the good people of Cross River South, you know, the foundations he has built when he was in the House of Reps, he continued to build on them and expanded his frontiers to the extent that Prince Senator Bassey Edotu has become a household name in the whole of Cross River. Everybody talks about him, even the people who didn't know him even before then. That's why I discovered that his coming to go on for the position of governorship became very easy because he was already very well known. His name has been etched into the minds of people because of the good works he has done, because he has built people. He has, improved on people's lifestyle. He has, done a lot of things practical for people, and they know. And of course, you know that in this touching of life, even the people who are not directly affected, who may have heard the news, already accommodate you in their good minds. That is the person that I know of. And of course, you know that beyond that, my personal knowledge of him shows that he's a very humble man. He's a very shy man. He's not an arrogant fellow. He's somebody that is willing to learn, somebody that is open to criticism, somebody that listens to everybody, somebody whose friends cut across the three strata, the high, the low, and the mighty. So he does not, just like President Buhari, he is not for anybody, he belongs to everybody.
Oh, great. Now, let's look at some other issue now. Cross River State, before this time, since 1999, has been a PDP state. And coming to see Prince Bassey Edotu flying on the APC, candidature, which was barely 2 years in Cross River State. And we saw a very stiff contention from the opposition party. Were you in any way surprised that he got 15 out of the 18 local governments in Cross River State?
Well, my position is that for Prince to win the election, he didn't win the election because of the party. For somebody with Prince's credentials, if he had stood and this election, even as an independent candidate, he would have won his way. Even if he had gone to a party that is not known at all. Because what is important, especially in election, now that people are civilized, people are wise, is the fact that you must work your way into those elections. How do you work your way? By getting yourself attached to the people, by being in empathy with the people, by supporting projects, by initiating projects. And those things spoke for him because he had already done them. So for him to have been tested, he has been tried, he has been tested, so he's trusted. So people feel that to whom much is given, much more is expected. Because they have tested him, now they trust him, they believe that he can handle several other responsibilities ahead of him.
Okay, before I go straight to the those expectations, some Cross Riverians, some people are saying that Prince Otu, the incoming governor of Cross River State, would be a stooge for the outgoing governor. And that's more like a propaganda that has been flying prior to the election and even after the election. Do you think a man who has held, been in several positions, be a stooge to the outgoing government?
Well, it is good. It is obvious that there must be propaganda at times like this. But if you know the person of Prince Otu, in spite of his humility, they say the hunger in the forest cannot make a lion eat grass. In spite of his obvious humility, the kind of humility that he exudes, Prince Batos too cannot succumb to any. He respects people, no doubt. He will respect his governor. He will definitely respect it. Of course, the man very soon, in the next 28 or 29 days, he will succeed the governor. The governor becomes his predecessor. And as such, of course, you know that even in the handing over and taking over and the running of the governance, there is no way by which he will not do consultations. He will not drive. The man is not deposed. The outgoing governor is not deposed. He's not on exile. Nobody is driving him away from the office. He is going because his tenure has elapsed. And because his tenure has elapsed, nature abhors a vacuum. The vacuum now is being filled by this man. But for you to think that it's a stooge, it's going to be a stooge. How will it be a stooge? That somebody had to come and show him how to minute files in his office, how to take decisions, that Otu, as he is, cannot take his own decision. He's not man of his own. A man who has been a banker, a man who went to the federal house, a man who is a senator, is once a senator, always a senator, a man who is a senator, with all this background, you feel that he is going to koto or sublet his leadership under another person. Is not possible.
Okay.
It's not possible.
Okay. There's also been another one that has been pushed out there. Some just believe that his spread is only for the southern part of Cross River. Do you think that when he was a senator, he only covered the 7 LGS? Now we have looking at 18 local government that he may not be able to spread across the 18. Let's see how we can talk.
Well, I just told you beginning from the beginning that when he was in the federal house, he was like a federal houseman occupying taking care of the whole of Cross River, 18 local government areas. It became worse. That is the challenge. It was not the challenge, which ordinarily ought to have daunted him. He remained undaunted. He reached out to people. He was touching lives. He did a lot of things that I will not be able to mention on this media space for people from the north, from the central, from the south. Not only in the south. So for you to think that, or for anybody, at a point, as a matter of fact, you know that what is happening now is maybe the sharing of the cake, and people are beginning to say this side supported and the other side does not support. But the most important thing that you have to understand now is that Prince is not the governor of one side, of one section, or one senatorial district, the governor of the whole state. Even in a local government where he performed most abysmal, he did not perform at all. Of course, he is now the governor of the whole state, including that local government. So there is no way for anybody to insinuate that because he had, of course, somebody had to have majority. He had to have a stronghold, because as a general, as a governor, as somebody who stood Who stood the fight? Normally, the strongholds must be, people must understand that this is this person's stronghold. For instance, your place of birth. Is it expected that you lose election in your place of birth? Except you are not on ground. Except the people do not want you. Except you are not in touch with reality. Except the people who see you. Except the people who see you as a foreigner, who only comes to them when you need help. Otherwise, for somebody like Prince, his emergence is total for the state. It is because of the acceptability, his courage, his personality, the things he has done before, the trust the people have reposed on him.
Great. Okay, Prof, now let's look at the next 29 days between now and then happens to be very interesting ahead. There are a lot of people having high hopes for the incoming government, so much expectations. I'd love to address this issue. Let's look at those expectations that Cross Riverians, those within and those in the diaspora, are expecting from the incoming administration.
Well, the expectations are, like you rightly pointed out, are very lofty. The fact is that having stayed in office for 8 years or so, almost 8 years, on the 29th of next month, it will be 8 years for the outgoing administration. Of course, you know that towards the tail end, people will get tired of the administration. They want to see a new face. They want to see a new change. They want to see something anew. They are tired of what they have been seeing, previously. So it is also obvious that these expectations are bound after the fact that people know Prince. People know his capacity. People know his capability. People know his level of intelligence. People know that he's a creative thinker. People know that he's a development-oriented person. People know that he's a social agent. People also know that he's a social engineer. So the expectations are very high. People expect that where there are failures, for instance, this man is coming to right the wrongs. So in terms of expectation, you cannot blame anybody for having that kind of expectation. In fact, the ascription you see, even on the street now, is like Prince is a messiah. Anywhere something is not working, they will tell you, very soon Prince will come. He's like a messiah. He's somebody that is coming that has a Midas touch. That anything he touches will become gold. Anything he touches will work. But you see, the important thing that we have to do is that as a collective in Cross River, what he needs most is support. What he needs most is not enough for us to have the expectation. You cannot have the expectation without supporting him. Prince, for instance, is not a god. So if he has the necessary support, he will even surpass the expectations that people have on him.
Okay. Now, you are a university don, Prof. Let's look at the expectation from the educational sector in Cross River State. We would say that Cross River State has not been doing bad in terms of the senior secondary certificate examinations. We've not been doing bad. But what do you think, as a don, you advise the incoming government in terms of the educational sector in Cross River State?
Well, examinations and the result from examination may not be a very serious indices to measure what happens in Cross River State. You and I are living witnesses to the fact that we have been in Cross River, we stay in Cross River, we have worked in Cross River uninterrupted for at least 25 years, if not beyond that. And the experience we had before, especially in the last 20 years or in the past 20 years, is different from the experience we are going to have. Remember also, I told you sometimes in this space that there was a period that Cross River State was almost regarded as an educational tourism state. It was almost regarded as an educational tourism state. And we sat here and I said, if you want to take statistics, if you want to look at the figures of people who come in, if you want to do a research on it, for instance, go to the gates of Calabar, that is the city gate of Calabar, and see how many people come from outside to study here. You can, apart from going through the school registry to know who is a Cross Riverian or who has come from elsewhere and so on and so forth, but beyond that, you know that I, even as a teacher, as a trained teacher, as a veteran teacher, as somebody who has been on the firing line, as somebody who was trained to teach and have been teaching all my life, as somebody who even aspired to be a teacher, I expect so much, especially in the educational sector. Because what? Education is the bedrock of everything. Talk of agriculture, talk of engineering, talk of health, there's nothing you can talk of without education. And as such, you see, the challenge we are having in the system, in the state, for instance, is because the priorities are not given. Priorities are not assigned. Even if they are assigned, they are not pursued. Even if they are pursued, they are not implemented. If they are implemented, there is no follow-up. So what I'm saying in essence is that they must be a priority. For instance, we have prioritized Prince Edek Basi Otu, Senator Prince Basi Otu, as our governor. And we now see that there's a challenge in the educational system. Why do you think there are challenges all over in the educational system? Because the initial system of education is falling. Like lawyers will say, you can't build anything on nothing and expect it to stand. So if the foundation of education is shaky, the whole of the building will collapse. So what I'm saying in essence is that, this man, the incoming governor, is a product of teachers. The mother was a former class teacher, the father an educationist. And teachers' children, they are trained, they are disciplined, they follow rules, they like teaching, they even know, they like teaching, they like everything about the school system. So for Prince Otu, he's not the kind of governor to come and preside over a system of education that is already falling or that has fallen. So the onus will be on him to try to build, to try to reshape, to try to encourage, to try to motivate, because there's a whole gamut of challenges that we see in the system. I'm telling you, my brother, we are talking here in Calabar. If you go to the secondary school by Rabana here, okay, you wonder if that is a secondary school that is inside town, or you go to the one at what they call Main Avenue, Government Secondary School, Main Avenue. It's called Government Secondary School in name, but if you go there, there's no government presence, just like the one in Rabana. And just to mention a few, if the schools in the city are like that, what do you expect of these government secondary schools in the rural areas? Because these ones are before us. So I see a situation in which there will be holistic arrangement in terms of reviving and revamping the system, and it will take a lot of processes. Because you talk of teachers' motivation, you talk about supervision of schools, you talk about there are so many things that are involved. It's not just one or two. So in terms of education, I expect that we are going to have a mouthful. He's a teacher's child. He was brought up by teachers. So the first thing that he owes to Cross River is to make sure that we are properly educated, our children are properly educated. Because that one will go to him. Because I also believe that in the next 8 years, this administration will run, irrespective of party or party affiliation. In the next 8 years, beginning from 29th of May, this administration will run for the next 8 years. And I want to promise you that we will watch Prince, we will work with Prince, we will work with the government to ensure that the state government here measures with the state like Rwanda in terms of educational facilities and educational, turnovers and attraction and educational tourism. Remember that Rwanda was in a state of war for almost between 16 and 20 years. Everything was shattered, everything was battered, nothing was working. And right now, even Nigerians are running to Rwanda. Are you not even surprised that, look at Sudan, ordinary Sudan here. Look at the number of students that are coming from there. Over 5,000 Nigerian students are studying in Sudan. I don't know what they are studying. I don't know what they are doing in that place. That means that the place is stable, the environment, the educational calendar, or the educational years calendar, and everything is very stable. These are things that we can ensure in Cross River State. It is not a difficult thing. It is not rocket science.
Great. So that means with Prince Otu's coming, educational sector is going to be great.
You expect a lot of things in so many areas. Because number one, you know that he has prepared himself for governance. I had the privilege of talking to him one-on-one in his house. And I said, why do you want to run for governorship? You are running for governorship. You want people to be insulting you. Any kind of person will come and be abusing. I talked to him one-on-one, eyeball to eyeball in his house. I said, why do you want to run for this position? For me, see, you have been a senator. That is the highest office in the land. So why not just retire? You see, food, you don't eat more than a meal a day. And you don't even finish a full meal. I've been watching you eating. You don't do anything. You see houses you don't have. You have everything. So why not just retire? Then he convinced me, say, look, he needs to assist people. Me, I know that he has been having calls for people around him, and he needs to assist people, he needs to bring people up and all those stuff. In other words, I'm telling you that he has prepared himself for governance. Okay. Then I told him while we were discussing that you are lucky that God has given you a second chance. That second chance is for you to go back now and tender and look for and take care of and pet or pamper those persons that you have not been able to reach. That does not mean that the first set will not be attended to. every set will be attended to.
Great. Let's look at health now. Let's take a work from the educational sector and look at health. As one that was quite striking was the COVID-19 that took the entire world into great shocks. And Cross River State we were privileged to be one of those states that recorded least deaths, in the nation. Now, let's look at this focus in terms of health. Because if you're not healthy, you cannot go to school. So what are the expectations of people as regards health? Remember, we have the Ayade care.
Yes.
Is it going to build on that
Yes.
and expand further?
You know that takes us back. If you talk about COVID, that is the period that Dr. Betaidu was health commissioner. And at her age, she was still learning, but she's pragmatic. She's somebody who was focused. She's somebody who was agile. She's somebody that was everywhere. And you see, the preponderance of the health challenges that were associated with COVID, most of them were eradicated through what? Through enlightenment, through education. That's why I'm telling you that education is the bedrock of everything. So if people are properly educated, you should know, even the nurses in the hospitals, they are not there without receiving the adequate education. So in other words, in all departments, in all ministries, in all agencies, we must ensure, or Prince must ensure, in this case, that there will be periodic training and retraining of officials and officers. People are exposed. It's not like, well, I'm sorry to say, it's not like now that people are not exposed. And, by the way, you have to use the right kind of people in the right place. Beta was right. Am I correct?
Very well.
It was, not just a health practitioner, a medical doctor who had just trained and who had come out of the university pumping with so much energy and so much brains. And she, ensured that she exerted everything. In fact, the COVID happened, I would say the COVID happened to prove whatever she has learned in the university. So it is, the whole thing was not planned. It was not something that was just arranged. But the thing happened at the point that Beta was up to her task. Of course, you know that this one had to do with personal hygiene. Things about COVID had to do with personal hygiene. Also, they were saying we should ensure personal hygiene and all those stuff. Beta was everywhere, one local government to the other. There was no local government in this state, no locality, no vicinity, no ward in this state that Beta did not touch during the period of COVID-19.
Prof, let me quickly come in there, because we've had several instances where we have a dearth of medical practitioners, especially doctors, in some part of the rural areas. Are we going to see, like you said, training and retraining, so that we have more doctors up central and north in this administration?
The box, stops on the governor's deck, on the incoming governor's decks. He is the one to take decisions.
If you were to advise him. If you were to advise him in that regard.
If I was to advise him, that's when he appoints me as an advisor. You don't put the cat ahead of the horse.
Okay, Prof, let's look at two more things in terms of expectation. Football club Rovers have not been doing too well. And a lot of people have that expectation that we'll see sports being revived in Cross River State. You and I remember when Rovers was, let me not say, you remember when Rovers was in their heydays, the likes of Friday Igbo, most of these guys at the national scene started from the Rovers Football Club, and some other sporting activities have died down. What are the expectations, in this regard?
Well, I'm not a football freak, despite, but I'm sure, just like I've told you, that Senator Prince Basiotu, by the grace of God, will inherit a basket and a litany of challenges. The challenges will not be undaunting. He cannot daunt on him. He already knows that those challenges are there. For anybody aspiring, if you are going to be governor or you want to be governor, you are aspiring for a job, and you know that these are the challenges you are going to have. So you don't have any right to come to us 100 days later to say, well, I'm unable to do this because of this. You already know that challenge was there, and you were going to that office. That is what I tell people. You already know that this challenge was there. For instance, you come and tell us that you inherited an empty treasury. But you know the treasury was going to be empty, and you applied for the job. Now that is there, that you have inherited an empty treasury. Except the treasury is, there are some people who do not inherit any treasury at all. But if the treasury is empty, then look for something and put inside. So what I'm saying in essence is that this thing is going to be holistic. For Prince that I know, for Prince Bassey Otu, His Excellency Prince Bassey Otu, and of course, you know that he's being assisted or he's being deputized by a very young man, His Excellency Peter Ode. You know that he bridges gap anyway between the youth and the not so old. So both of them are there, and you know that it's a very wonderful team. It's going to be it's already a wonderful team, and it's a team that is already positioned to deliver on those things that Cross Riverians are worried for.
Prof, very quickly, let's look at the issue of security.
Yeah, what do you want to look at?
Expectations.
Some
Cross Riverians are saying that the operation of Kwaku has a little bit gone to bed. We don't really hear much of them. What do you think should be addressed in terms of security?
Well,
we still have a pocket of kidnaps here and
there.
Yeah,
you see, our state is not China or South Africa, where for every maybe 2 or 3 persons there is a policeman or a security personnel. Of course, we know that the security themselves have their challenges in terms of manpower. But that notwithstanding, what we should understand is that when the security presence in town, in the cities ebb, it is it's a corollary to the fact that crime and criminality is not so large. If you like now, you think that the army, the navy in front of your office here is not doing anything. Go to IBB now and cause any problem. That is when you say that the navy are agile and they are agile and able. So what I'm saying in essence is that security is arranged in consonance with the level of crime that is emanating. Of course, you know that some of these kidnappings that you mentioned, some of them I believe, strongly, even as a non-expert, that some of them were political. You have seen that all of them have gone fallow. But the fact is that maybe among their negotiators, among the people that were talking for them, they were not bold enough to tell you to go and support a particular candidate. If not, most of them are fizzling out. So and I feel that in the next couple of days, as soon as Prince takes over, there will be a downing of tools.
So you handle security headlong?
Headlong. I say there will be a downing of people will confess, people will come to him. People are ready to work.
Prof, just let me get your concluding thoughts on this before I let you go. Remember, we're looking at the expectations of the incoming administration. Let's get your concluding thoughts on this, Prof.
Well, what I'll tell you in few words is the fact that the expectations of Cross Riverians and Nigerians who know Prince in terms of taking over the leadership or the mantle of leadership in the state is very high. But in spite of the fact that the expectations are so high and lofty, they are not Herculean. Prince is going to tackle everything headlong. We are going to have, in fact, Cross Riverians are going to be happy that they elected Prince Bassey Otu. They will be fulfilled that they elected him, because at his age, at his level, the typical Calabar man is a very shy person. When he gets to the office, he wants to prove that he's the best in that office. So the onus is on him. Let him prove to us.
University Don, Professor Patrick Egaga, I must thank you very much for finding time to grace our sets this evening. We look forward to having you in some Sundays from today.
Thank you very much.
All right, and we hope you oblige us.
I don't have a choice.
All right. Joseph Kokobasi, the YPP Guba candidate in the 18th March 2023 Guba elections, as we take a look at some of the national issues trending right now. Stay, Weekend Politics return shortly. Don't go away.